A Republican governor who wants to be president now has an accomplishment unlike any other governor in history. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has now signed into law a bill that will create the single biggest property tax increase in history, 25%. That is how high property taxes will go, how much higher they will go in Orlando area after Ron DeSantis signed a law that repeals Disney's special status in that area. Property taxes around Disney World are going to increase by 25%, thanks to Republican Governor Ron DeSantis. Disney World pays taxes to the counties that surround it. Disney paid $40 million last year to Orange County and will continue to pay that. But Disney will no longer have to pay the special taxes in the geographic area that it controls because Republicans in the Florida legislature and the Republican governor rushed a bill through the legislature that repeals the Disney special status in that area, which means they repealed Disney's obligation to pay $163 million a year for the right to, in effect, govern the area that its property is located on. Now, because these are Republicans that we're talking about, it is very unlikely that they had any idea what they were actually doing when they tried to penalize Disney by dissolving its special status to operate what they call the Reedy Creek Improvement District, where Disney World is located.
The moment that Reedy Creek doesn't exist is the moment that those taxes don't exist. You're literally taking $163 million a year of taxes that Disney pays to Reedy Creek and wiping it down to zero.
That is Scott Randolph, the Orange County tax collector. He knows what's going to happen now that Florida Republicans threw away $163 million in local tax revenue from Disney.
I don't see how Orange County doesn't raise property taxes by 20 to 25%.
25%.
That's what Orange County would probably have to do to cover this financial situation.
No governor in history prior to Ron DeSantis has done anything to increase anyone's property taxes by 25%. That's never happened before. If you're paying $10,000 in property taxes in Orange County, Florida now, you will be paying at least $12,500 in property taxes when this law takes effect in 2023. And thanks to Donald Trump and Washington Republicans, none of that property tax increase will be tax deductible to you. Zero. Republicans in Washington effectively eliminated the tax deductibility of property taxes. Randy Fine thinks the Republican Florida legislature is a hornet's nest. He said, quote, "You kick the hornet's nest, things come up." And Randy Fine is proud of the hornet's nest and being a hornet himself. Republican Representative Randy Fine was the sponsor of the bill to eliminate the special Disney district, which eliminates $163 million in Disney taxes. Hornets are profoundly stupid creatures, and so Randy Fine's self-comparison to hornets could not be more apt. It is now Republican doctrine that government taxation and regulation of businesses should not be based on economic theory, but should be based on how friendly and supportive and encouraging any individual business is to Republicans. That is the governing principle on business regulation and taxation in the state of Florida now, and no doubt among Washington Republicans. They used to pretend campaign contributions had nothing to do with it. They used to pretend it was all about economic theory. And now actually they have a point when they say campaign contributions have nothing to do with it, because there is apparently no amount of money that you can hand over to Republicans to buy political protection from them if you ever publicly disagree with anything they say or do. Disney contributed $10.5 million to Donald Trump in the presidential campaign year of 2020. And in the same year, Disney contributed $1.2 million to Joe Biden's presidential campaign. It is very common for corporations to give to both sides, and it is very common for them to favor and sometimes heavily favor one side. Disney might have thought that by investing 10 to 1 in Donald Trump over Joe Biden, that as a corporation, they proved their Republican loyalty. But that's not good enough anymore. Now Republicans want corporations' money, and they want corporations to surrender freedom of speech. They want Disney and Disney officials to surrender their First Amendment rights in order to do business in Florida. The self-proclaimed hornet, Randy Fine, does not believe that anyone working at Disney has any right to voice an opinion about the Florida legislature's new law governing what public school teachers can and cannot say about human sexuality. And that is why Florida Republicans have erased Disney's $163 million tax bill and given that tax bill to local property taxpayers in the Orlando area. Randy Fine says that one of the reasons Disney has no right to an opinion about anything that the Florida government does is that Disney is a guest in the state of Florida. That's his word, guest. Little does he know there is no such thing as a guest in law. The snowbirds that travel from the north of the country to spend the winter in Florida all have the same rights of the people who live in Florida every day of the year. They don't surrender a single right when they visit the state temporarily. And if they spend enough time in the state every year, they have the right to vote in Florida. So Randy Fine has invented the notion that Disney is a guest in the state of Florida, even though Disney has been in the state of Florida longer than Randy Fine has been alive and longer than Ron DeSantis has been alive. The biggest difference between Ron DeSantis, Randy Fine, and the vengeful hornets they compare themselves to is that hornets never try to justify who they attack.